Hi, everyone. We are talking about goal setting now that we're in 2024. How can you stick to your goals for once? A lot of people will kind of like think about goals or maybe write something down and then kind of forget about it. And the sad part is that only 8% of people actually basically achieve the goals that they have set out for themselves by the beginning of the year. And so it's a really terrible stat. So we're going to talk about how you can be different and how you can actually stick to your goals and actually achieve your goals. So I'm Dr. Karen, if we haven't met, been doing this work for coming up on 30 years, working with both businesses, teams, individuals, professionals, and parents. And so this is a great topic that you can apply to whether or not you're an entrepreneur, a business owner, a manager, a professional, a teacher, but all of us who are parents and we want to kind of teach goal setting to our kids. So this is going to be a great video for you. I'm going to teach you 5 things you need to be paying attention to, 5 ways, 5 practical, simple tips for you to achieve and stick to your goals. All right, so here we go. And actually, just before I actually dive into, how to do it, I just want to kind of maybe just quickly talk about the benefits, because when we actually really are focused on setting our goals, knowing with what those goals are, it does 2 things that are really important. One, it really builds confidence. It's actually one of the best ways, as a professional mental health provider, this is one of the most critical things I actually have seen in my family practice is around confidence. When we actually set and achieve goals that are actually important to us, it actually helps to build confidence. It's one of the best ways. But the other thing it does is it actually helps to drive our productivity. And it actually also helps us to reduce our stress, because when we're actually really productive, then we feel really good and we're kind of getting things checked off. And then we actually feel a lot less stress, more calm. And so there's a lot of emotional benefits, okay, in terms of actually setting our goals and achieving them. So let's kind of talk about how do we do it, okay? So both in the business side and also in the personal side actually as well. All right, so number 1, everybody. Number 1, you've probably heard somebody else talk about this, but I'm going to reiterate it for you again. Number 1, you have to write them down. It's really important that we write down our goals. If we just have these goals floating in our head, then we'll forget about them. We won't be as mindful for them. So it's an exercise, a practice that I do it myself as a business owner. I do this with our team. I do this with my husband. I do this with my teenagers. I do this in all parts of my life. It's very important to set to figure out what the goal is, but you have to write it down. Okay, so you write it down is really, really important. Number 2, I'm going to kind of walk you through it. It's a really simple exercise. I've talked about this in some of the other YouTube videos, but it's a really simple goal system that I created a number of years ago. And actually, I created for teenagers, then I modified it for businesses, but it's called what I call the 6 Ps, as the 6 Ps of engagement. And I'm going to teach it to you really quick. And if you have my book, The 3 Chairs, you can turn to page 123. The last chapter, chapter 12, talks about it. But there's 6 kind of areas that are really important for people to actually set goals in, because a lot of times people don't really know what to set the goal in. There's 6 different areas, and you can apply this to a company, a team. I do the same exercise with my husband, and my teenagers do it every single year as well. Okay, so there's kind of 6 areas that you kind of want to be tapping into. And so the first one is purpose, to actually figure out what are 1 or 2 goals that are purpose driven for you. So it could be around philanthropy, it could be about spirituality, it could be about being more grateful, being more present, being more patient, being more forgiving. You can think about what is your purpose goal. So 1 or 2 goals under that category. Number 2 is your professional or your career or your business goals. Number 3 is your profit goals. This could be around saving money, getting rid of debt. This could be around updating your will. This could be around teaching financial literacy to your children. So the 3rd category is profit. 4th category is people. So this could be around relationship with your spouse, your team, your kids, your friendships, yourself. Next category is play, in terms of what are the fun goals, the play goals that you would actually like to set up for yourself. And the last one is physical health. So that could be anything from in terms of doing more exercise, eating better, nutrition. It could even be sometimes a little bit on the emotional health actually as well. And so those are the 6 categories. Okay, so purpose, professional, profit, people, play, and physical health. And so that's what you want to do. You want to kind of those are the 6 Ps. And if you actually look at companies that kind of win the best places to work, you'll actually notice that they actually have a lot of their objectives in the year are kind of like tapping into the 6 different P's. And so it's going to really help you as a business owner, but also in your relationship, and if you have a partner, if you're married, and also your kids, you can actually apply this as well. So think of it like a framework, okay? Think of it like a framework. These are the 6 different categories. How I do it on the personal side is I will kind of highlight 2 different goals per of those categories. So I've got 12 in total. My husband will do the same. Then we kind of come together. We kind of look at each other. Some will be overlapped, some will be different. And then we're kind of creating one roadmap on what we're going to be prioritizing for that year. And so it's a really, really great way to do it. And again, it's in the 3 chairs, page 125. I give a lot of different examples of what other professionals and business leaders are doing. So that's kind of number 2, everybody. So that's number 2, is to really, write down. Number 1 is write down your goals. Number 2 is like use the 6P framework. That's just one way. That's not the only way. There's lots of different ways of setting goals, but that is certainly one way of doing it. And one of the things that I talk about this on page 125, you'll see it. There's a great chart around the 5 skills of great leaders. And, to really set those goals, you want to actually develop emotional intelligence. And so we've got a great tool for you. It's a leadership scorecard. You can get it for free. And that kind of and one of the categories is around attitude and goal setting. So you want to get your hands on that. That's a really great way to kind of see how you're doing as it relates to your attitude, goal setting, and how that's going to drive your 6 P's of engagement. I explain it more in the book on page 125, but you can definitely get your free scorecard. So just write down yes in the comments below, and somebody from our team will send that to you. So just write down yes, and you'll get that scorecard. You can kind of see how you're measuring on that particular EQ skill and how that actually relates to your goals. I think you'll find that really helpful. Okay, the third way to really make sure that you are sticking to your goals and you're making it happen for yourself. We want you to achieve your goals. We want for you to, at the end of 2024, you're like, yes, I'm looking at my goals and I've checked off my goals. And I'm feeling amazing and I feel so good about myself. That's what we want. Okay, so that's why I wanted to give you these different tools for you. Okay, so number 2 is use the 6 P's as your framework. Number 3 is tell somebody. There's something that happens when we actually write down our goals, we're using a framework, and then we tell somebody. When we tell somebody, we're almost like kind of building in a little bit of accountability for yourself. So it's really a great way to tell somebody. So the way that I do it is I'll do it individually. We'll talk about it with my husband, and we'll actually share it with our kids, or I'm part of a business forum group. I'll actually share it with my business forum. I'll tell it with some girlfriends. And so I try to have clarity about what those goals are, and then actually tell people that I know are going to ask me about them. And there's a built-in framework. If we just kind of keep our goals all quietly to ourselves, sometimes we can kind of hide behind it. So think about who are a couple of people that you think you could share your goals with, that you think would be asking, they'd be curious, they'd be like, how is that goal kind of going for you? So that is the third one. The fourth one is you want to have a check-in. You want to have some kind of a check-in. You want to check in with yourself, with the goals. So something visual. So the way that I do it, this is only one way of doing it. You don't have to do it this way, but the one way I do it is I will write down on a piece of paper what my goals are. And then I actually do it in my computer because I love to have it, just nicely organized. And then I'll print it. And then I have a journal. And I print and put into my journal, and I carry that journal around with me. And it's very small. I keep it in my purse so that if I'm like waiting in a line up somewhere, or if I'm, in the car waiting for my kids from an event, I'll just kind of pull it out and I'll kind of go over it. So it's with me all the time. And so what happens is that when you've got clarity of those goals, and then you're actually looking it over and rereading it, you're like, hey, some of these I'm kind of doing really well. Some I'm actually a little bit off. And what you're doing is you're focusing. You're helping your brain focus on what is the most important for you. And, it is all of us, we're all in this very, very busy culture, and there's all these things that are kind of coming at us. So you've got to kind of gently remind yourself, like, no, this is what's important to me. Here's what I'm going to be saying yes to, and I'm going to start saying no to everything else. All right. So that's a really important thing. And then the last one, okay, so that's number 4. And then the last one is you kind of want to celebrate when you actually get some. So in my In my when I do the 6 Ps, I've got 12 different goals that I'm kind of like charging towards every single year. And I don't go after all 12 of them at the same time. I'll kind of do I have the 12, so it's my roadmap for the year, but I generally only focus on two at the same time because if you're going after all 12, a lot of people just feel totally overwhelmed. And then if you feel overwhelmed, what happens is you don't do anything. So what I do is I map out my 12 and then I'll focus on my top two. And I usually start with ones that are easy or simple first. I don't go after the hard ones. I'll actually go after the easier ones. Because if you go after the easier ones and then you can kind of check them off and you celebrate, you know what happens is it creates momentum. It creates momentum, and all of a sudden you realize, like, oh my goodness, I can do this one and I can do this one. And people start feeling really energized. And that's why I call the 6 Ps of engagement. So engagement is really around energy. When you're kind of tapping into your emotional energy, all of a sudden people feel very engaged in their life. There's this burst of emotional energy, and that actually kind of helps feed into the other goals. And so the fifth one you want to do is, as you are starting to charge towards your goals and you're starting to check them off, celebrate it. Let people know. It's like, you know what? This was one of the goals I had and I just actually achieved it. I feel like so great. So celebrate it. You want to celebrate, you want to be excited about it, and just do one or two goals at once. Start with the easier ones, start with the ones that are the most time sensitive, start with the ones that you're like, yes, I know I can get this one done. This one is the easiest one of all 12 goals that I have. Start with the easier ones or the more time sensitive ones, and then you work up to the more difficult ones. And if you do all 5 of these tips, you're in a really, really good place to achieve the goals that you have for yourself for 2024. Good luck.